What do Mozart and Dr. Dre have in common? Nope, it's not a closet full of powdered wigs or an affinity for gin and juice. It's a killer grasp of music theory. Whether you're laying down classical sonatas or firing up beats for the next big hip-hop anthem, music theory is the secret sauce you've probably been neglecting. In the next few minutes, we're gonna get down to the basics of music theory made easy. No fluff, no filler, just the essentials you need to make your music resonate with the masses. This is Music by Maddie, and we're about to throw some serious knowledge your way. Now, there's a myth floating around that music theory is only for the Beethoven-worshipping, bespectacled nerds or the bow-tie-wearing classical dudes. Hell no. Music theory is the skeleton key that unlocks every genre, be it rap, EDM, or anything else your creative mind conjures up. So let's cut the elitist crap. You don't need to go to Juilliard to get this stuff. And let's talk benefits, folks. You want to craft beats that make people feel like they've been hit by a freight train in a good way? Music theory. Want to slash hours off your workflow, avoiding endless loops of trial and error? Music theory. And if you're tired of explaining your vision in 15 back and forths with a musician, guess what helps? You got it, music theory. So hopefully now you're convinced that music theory isn't just some ancient cult for sheet music snobs. Great. Now let's dig into the meat and potatoes. The fundamentals that you can't ignore unless you want your tracks to be as forgettable as last year's memes. First up, we have scales and modes. Before you zone out, listen. This stuff is the bread and butter of everything. Trust me, this isn't some esoteric malarkey. This is like learning your ABCs before you write a novel. I'm going to be demonstrating this music theory by using a piano. The music theory works the same across all instruments. However, the easiest way to visually represent this, and the way that's going to work for you as a music producer, is the piano, which also happens to be exactly what your MIDI editor looks like as well. To start off, let's talk about the notes on the piano. The musical alphabet starts on A and ends on G. To find A, we go to our group of 3 black keys, then we go into the middle right here, then we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we repeat itself all the way up. Every time a note repeats itself and goes up, it will be going up an octave or down an octave. Now, to get into our first scale, we're going to start on middle C, which we can find right here. Middle C is right next to the group of 2 black keys, right there. A C major scale sounds like this. We're just going to walk our notes up on every white key. This is a major scale because of the relationships we have between notes. It sounds regal, it sounds royal, it sounds nice and proper, and it is the basis of all music. The particular relationship of the C major scale goes like this. We have a whole step, which means we go up 2 notes. We have another whole step. Then we have a half step, a whole, half. Reverse, we have half, whole, half, whole. We can translate that and use it on any note to get that major scale. Let's try it on D. Find a D major scale, let's use that same formula. Whole, half, whole, half. We can do that on any single note. That will always give us a major scale. But scales can also change in different ways. Let's say we play a C major scale, but instead of starting on a C, we start on an A. We're going to get something that sounds drastically different. Check this out. Very different. Now this is actually an A minor scale. C major and A minor are relative major and minors. That means a C scale and an A minor scale use exactly the same notes. The only thing that changes is where we start that scale, whether it's on C or on A minor. The 2 most important scales to know are the major and minor because those are going to help us determine what chords to use. To create a chord, let's create a C major chord. We're going to be using the first note in C major scale, the 3rd note in the C major scale, and the 5th note in the C major scale. That gives us C, E, G. That is a major chord. Similarly, we can create an A minor chord by doing the same thing. 1st, 3rd, 5th. A minor. Let's go back to our C major scale and let me explain another concept. This is called a chord inversion. We have C, E, and G, but if we take that first part of C and move it up an octave and keep the same notes, we have C first inversion. We have the same notes, but it sounds slightly different. Similarly, we can take the E and move it up to the top, G, C, E, C, second inversion, and then we have C, major all over again. In addition to inversions, we can add some different spicy flavors to our chords by adding things like sevenths, seconds, and fourths. Sevenths are simply the seventh note of the scale. In the C major scale, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. B would be the seventh of our major scale. If we play this on top of our C major chord, we come up with a C major seventh. Check this out. Another common thing to do is to add a flat 7, which sounds pretty jazzy like this. Now, adding a second and a fourth is as easy as it sounds. On our C major chord, we're just going to add the second note, which in this case is 1, 2, D. That's a second chord. And then we have a fourth chord, which is adding 1, 2, 3, 4, the F note. All of those flavors can add variety to your chords, and using them makes it way more interesting to listen to. Now that we have some basics about chords, let's talk about chord progressions. Your chords are the emotional backbone of your track. Most chord progressions are diatonic, which simply means that they use all of the notes in the scale that you're playing in, or the key that you're playing in. In this case, C major. That means we're only allowed to use C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. If we simply move our hand around the piano with that same shape, we'll be able to play different chords that are all diatonic to C. In fact, diatonic chords follow a pattern across all major scales that goes like this. The 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 chord, minor, 4, major, 5, major, 6, minor, 7 is diminished, which is an advanced topic. We won't be talking about that. And 1, which is major. This is exactly where the word key comes from. If we play all the notes in the C scale through our chords, we're in the key of C. And what's cool is once you learn these diatonic chords, you can play 80% of the songs you hear on the radio. It's really that simple. Using those chords we just mentioned, we can swap them, combine them to create some cool sounds and chord progressions. Here are 2 really common chord progressions that you can use in any key. 2 common chord progressions would be the 2, 5, 1, which in C major would be D minor, G major, and C major. And another really common chord progression is the 1, 5, 6, 4, which in C major would be the C, G, A minor, F. Does that sound like any song you know? Let me record that progression in Logic so we can actually start building a song while we learn music theory. I'll drop the tempo down a little bit and we'll record. Let's move on to Melody and Harmony. Melody and Harmony are the twin sisters of Damn. That song stuck in my head. Simplified, melody is what you hum when you're in the shower. And then harmony is what makes that humming richer when you're singing in a choir or, auto-tuning in your bedroom studio. Melody follows the scale and the key of a song. If we play our chord progression that we recorded, we can experiment with different notes in the scale to create a melody. And already we're off to something that sounds pretty good. But to get even more nuance with our melody, let's follow a different scale in the same key, the Pentatonic Scale. This isn't just the name of your favorite a cappella group that you hide from your friends from embarrassment. It's actually a real scale. The Pentatonic Scale uses the first, second, third, fifth, and sixth notes in a scale. In C major, that would be C, D, E, G, A. We can create some iconic melodies with the Pentatonic Scale. Let me record one that I liked here. Pretty cool, all based off of the pentatonic scale. Next up, we have harmony. Harmony supports the melody and the chords of the song. To get some basic harmonies, we're going to use the chord progression we created earlier on to help us. The most common harmonies start with the third and the fifth of each chord. Now I'm going to record this harmony along. This first chord is C major, so I'm going to play as E or G. This next chord is G, so I'll play a B or D. For A minor, I'll play a C or an E. And then for that F, I'll play it in C or an A. Let's just come up with something on the fly. Here we go. Next up, let's add a bass. Bass lines use music theory too. Bass sounds the best when it outlines the chord being played in the higher notes. If we're playing D minor, then we play a D. If we're playing F major, we'll play an F. Let me record a really basic bass part with some rhythm to show what I mean with the rest of my song. I'm just going to play C, G, A, and F, outlining our chords. Let's hear what it sounds like. This bass isn't quite as low as I'd like it to be. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna hold Option, Shift, and down on my keyboard, and we're gonna drop it down a full octave. Let's hear it. See what it sounds like. Finish off our song, we're gonna add a drum beat. There is music theory that goes along with drums, but for this video, we're focusing mainly on the melodic aspect of music theory. And after adding the drum beat and doing some basic mixing and reverb adding, here's what our beat sounds like. And now look, you just used music theory to create the foundation of a track that, let's be honest, has more potential than half the stuff floating around out there. So imagine what you can do once you dig deeper into this treasure trove of knowledge. Now, I know I've thrown a lot at you, but if you're looking to shove some more music theory knowledge into your brain, here are some resources that can help. Books, Tonal Harmony for the serious nerds, or Music Theory for electronic producers as a more simplified theory version. Apps. My two favorites are Perfect Ear and Tenuto, which can help with music theory, sight reading, and ear training. And if you want even more in-depth music theory knowledge, hit that like button below, and I'll continue making videos in this same theme. Listen, you don't have to become the Mozart or Quincy Jones of music theory, but you also can't afford it to treat it like it's your annoying ex and block it out completely. This stuff is your new best friend. The more you know, the more your music will benefit. That's it, class dismissed. Now go out there and make some beats, preferably the kind that's in tune and on beat.